Hey, everybody, welcome to the class. We've got a great topic tonight. It's follow your bliss, or is it follow your blister? I know that doesn't sound good. It sounds bad, doesn't it? Follow your blister. What? I don't want a blister. Leah, help explain this topic, would you?
Yeah, hello everyone. Joseph Campbell is often quoted as saying, follow your bliss as one of his mantras. And then later in life, he said, I wish I had said, follow your blisters, specifically because sometimes we can get a little bit confused about what would actually be following your bliss, right? So, like, if all you do if bliss is interpreted as just pleasure seeking, and all you do is pleasure seeking, you might not actually get so very far in the true, like, desire that he's trying to address, which I think is very much like trying to become fully engaged with your own purpose and your own sense of purpose. And so if you follow your blisters, what that means is, like, what are the things that you are willing to really work for? What are the things that it's like you're almost like proud of the blisters that you get from doing that practice, or that skill, or that pursuit, whatever it might be. Um, and
Absolutely.
so that and so that's our topic for tonight, to try to get some inspiration to your hearts. Ooh.
From your heart to your blisters. That's where we're going. We teach this meditation class every week. This is Introduction to Heart Rhythm Meditation. It's a method of meditation that comes out of Sufism, and in particular, the Sufism of Hazrat Inayat Khan. Um,
Mm,
so, we have a certain approach to it, but we always are interested in, helping you solve the problems and the issues that you're dealing with. And, of course, we're guessing at that, right? Because we don't know who watches this this show after all.
mm,
Um,
mm.
so we think about, like, well, what seems to be good to us, or what's worked for us, and right. Um, and we know that your heart is full of desire, full of longing, right? And what does that
Mm.
mean, right? How do you how do you deal with that? How do you interpret that, right? I mean, like, we know going through life that you can't have everything you want, right? I mean, we've learned that at some point.
I
We learned
don't want to believe that.
pretty early. But I hope we've also learned that, you can have a real influence, right? I mean, and if you work at something,
Yeah.
you can, a lot of times you can get it, right? I mean, I mean, this is a world of limitation, right? And there's lots of challenges and obstacles, but, like, if you
Mhm.
stick at something and really work at it, you're likely to be able to accomplish it. I mean, of course, it depends on what it is, right? I mean, you know, I hope we're not talking about, I don't know what, like, terraforming Mars or something like that. That's a big one, But, like, if you start with something that can be done, that by
Mhm.
you. Um,
Mhm.
so, we and we're also confronting this legacy that we have. We all have this, right? This is like a kind of inherited wisdom of spirituality, which says your desires really aren't that important, and you need to just try to rise above them, and realize that, things are impermanent, and, desire isn't going to cause you suffering anyway, whatever. And, you need to try to not be so attached, right? Like, that's a
Yeah.
very strong message, in, many different spiritual traditions, right? So we want to respond to that, right? We're taking our hearts seriously, meditating on our hearts, trying to uncover what is there, right? And
Mhm.
actually trying to follow it, right? And that requires a different philosophy, right? A different understanding, of what is desire. What does it mean to have desires? What does it mean to have this longing in your heart? What does it mean to then
Mm.
follow that, right?
Yeah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said, Asatar. They I didn't want to interrupt you. Did you have more
No, go
that
ahead.
you wanted to?
Your turn.
Um, my turn. Uh, so I'm so glad that you started talking about the topic of desire within our hearts, because it's like I think it can be very convoluted really quickly if we think about like every single desire, every single impulse. Like I might have the desire to eat tres leches cake every day, but that might not be very good for
That's
me.
good cake. Good choice. I want some of
I
that now.
know. It sounds really good. But it might not be very good for me, like in my health. And it's a different desire than what my heart might have, which is like my deeper like emotional self, my center of my being. That desire in there might be that I want, maybe I want sweetness and nourishment and health. And so, like, how could I have all of those things? You know what I mean, within my life, and the health piece of it would be the thing where it's like still in line with my center of myself. The desire is still in line in an alignment. And a lot of times with desire, it really is coming into alignment with all the parts of ourself,
Yeah.
in the sense of like, this is what my heart wants, my mind can handle it, my mind wants it too, and reality is going to lay the ground before me for that to be possible. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things where it is kind of an act, a constant act. And I think purpose is very much a constant act. It's something where it's ever evolving. It's something where at one given moment, the way that I'm pursuing my purpose is going to be completely different than a few years later, or even maybe, you know, a few months later. And so it's not, it's some purpose is something that's living. It's not something that's going to be super stagnant. And this is something I'm very lucky because I've grown up since a very young age having a sense of purpose. And so it's more or less like trying to differentiate exactly how to achieve that within myself from a
Hmm.
very, very young age. But a lot of people, and these are the people that I really want to speak to tonight, a lot of people really don't have that innate sense of purpose. Or maybe they had a sense of purpose, but they couldn't find the thing in the outer world to connect it to. And
Hmm.
so I want to talk about that tonight too, in the sense of like, the kind of broad desires of our heart, like the different pillars of our heart that we can look at to see which one of these is where you really want to follow your blisters, which one of these is where you're like, yes, definitely. And just to come back around, like one of my definitions of purpose is more or less contribution. It's like if you were a tree, what kind of fruits and flowers would you want to produce, right? There's
Mm.
this aspect, there's this desire within ourselves to be strong enough and have enough inner sustenance that we can actually provide nectar for others. You know, there's a very strong
Right.
sense in that, and that can go any which direction, and that could even be just in a moment, you know, connecting with a stranger in a moment and giving them some sustenance in the form of a hello. So it doesn't have to be this grandiose, you know, I'm going to save the world, even though I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to return to the thing you said earlier about, you know, is a desire that we have in conflict with other desires? Is it is it a kind of surface level desire, right? Is there something deeper, you know, behind it that we want to learn from that. Um, we want to ask the questions, right? So
Mhm.
it's like we need a process of exploring our desires, right? And not like, see, this is kind of where this philosophical thing comes in, right? Because if we approach it with the idea that like our desires are bad, you know, and that's not spiritual, um, then it's hard for us to like develop discernment. You know, it's hard for us to be
Mhm.
like, okay, well, listen, some of our desires are really, really important. You know, like
Mhm.
we came here to be human for a reason, right? I mean, and
Mhm.
you know, it's a rich, complex reason, right? But like, you know, we want, and that, what is that reason? How do we know what that reason is, right? I mean, it's coming through us in our desires, and you know, it's coming through at a very deep level, right? So you know, we do have these surface level desires, of course, right? Because we're also, you know, animals, right? I mean, like, come on, let's be honest, right? Like, we have animal desires. You know, we have desires for, you know, food and pleasure and sex and right, all this stuff, right? Like, so,
Mhm.
you know, we want to acknowledge that, right? We don't want to say, oh, that's, that desires like that are bad and wrong. No, like we want to
Hmm.
be full human beings, right? We want to
Right.
be at peace with our animal side, right?
Yeah, like full
But there's,
acceptance of self, full acceptance of being in existence.
yeah,
Hmm. It's really important.
sorry, I mentioned sex. We don't have to talk about that the entire show. I mean,
What? Um, no, but no, full acceptance of existence. Like, I know quite a few, I don't want to say anything wrong right now, but I know quite a few people who, because they have a certain fineness of nature, like their own nature is very much like attuned to the spiritual tendencies, they will have a lot of trouble with human beings being eat meeting eat like eating meat, and
right.
I, whatever you do, and your body way better than I'll ever know your body, right? And I'm not a nutritionist or anything like that, but like I had to go through a lot with that because my body is meant to like eat meat. Like, and I went through a period of time where I had a lot of trouble because I didn't want to. And like there was like a certain aspect of there's a certain aspect of being able to fully accept existence. Um,
Yeah.
like really accept like being human and being, in this world and in this world of limitation. And there is something really powerful about that, and that I think it goes very much hand in hand with following your blisters, because you're going to come up against obstacles. It's like the reality is that this existence has a lot of limitations and a lot of obstacles, and you have to embrace that. Like you have to really embrace that, because it's gonna have that regardless if you pursue your heart's desires or not. Like, so you
Yeah.
might as well.
You might as well.
So go for it. Yeah.
That reminds me of this. I'm into fitness, right? So I have a book. I have lots of
Mm,
books about fitness and strength training, whatever. And they're describing this very difficult calisthenics move, right? And it says like, from this progression to this progression might take 3 years for you to accomplish, right?
mhm.
And so, well, that sounds like a long time. 3 years to work on one piece of one progression. And so he says it like, listen, you're gonna get 3 years older anyway, right? Like question is like, are you going to be stronger in 3 years, right?
I know, right? That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Um, yeah. Well, we should probably meditate. We
I think
forgot to no.
now that we've clarified every single people, and whatever
It's a
questions you
big
might have had,
topic.
answered them clearly.
Right. Let's
To
let's meditate.
summarize,
You know what? I'm gonna kick us off. We didn't discuss this. We forgot to discuss this.
all right, let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna kick us off. Okay, so before I guide this meditation, just to tie back in with these desires. So, okay, again, really my purpose tonight is to talk to people who have trouble connecting with what their purpose is in this moment. Okay, and so I want to just give you a practice to help you feel that internally. You need to know yourself to know your own desires, right? And if you somebody that has a lot of trouble with this topic, I'm going to give you four broad strokes to think about with life. Okay, so four broad strokes. One of them is your work, your career. Okay, that's one broad stroke. Another broad stroke is your health. Maybe even safety or security is like another way of looking at that. Another broad stroke is relationships or love. And the last one is it can be interpreted as knowledge, but or like knowing. But I interpret and connect with it as spiritual connection. I kind of both. I'm like an information. I love absorbing, consuming information, but um, but that spiritual connection, like that sense of connection of the unseen interconnection of life.
Hmm.
Um, And so as you're meditating, if you really are lost right now and you really don't know which direction to go, you can think more in terms of these broad strokes. So again, like career slash work, which one is pulling at your heart right now? Career slash work. Is it relationships and love? Is it your health, slash like safety, stability? Or is it really information, knowledge, or spiritual connection? I'm just going to put those all in one category. All
All
right.
right.
Okay. So go ahead and close your eyes. Move your body as you need. And so, even right now, even just by closing your eyes, you're already becoming more familiar with yourself than most of us ever give the time of day to. It's like right now in this moment, you're already getting to know yourself. You're already getting to know what it is you want, what it is you need, just by tuning in and listening and feeling and experiencing. And remember, we always meet our feelings and our experience with our deep, full breath. So, with your next inhalation, go ahead and breathe fully in and exhaling all of your breath out. What's really, really helpful on doing this, like even myself, somebody that has practiced days and days and days and days of meditation, I can, not every day is the same with my breath. Like, so my breath is more tense today, for whatever reason. And so I actually have to really relax my muscles into the full breath. And so, how I do that is that I focus on my diaphragm muscle, which is kind of like an umbrella shape along the perimeter of your rib cage, the bottom of your rib cage. And as I inhale, I try to bring my inhalation even deeper than my diaphragm. I try to bring it all the way to the bottom of my torso. And as I do that, I'm not forcing my inhalation at all, but I'm allowing that muscle to open. I'm allowing my diaphragm muscle to really open up. And I'm trying to find almost more and more of my diaphragm muscle that is still tense and trying to allow that part of my diaphragm muscle to open. And then the exhalation is usually very natural for the first part of it. And the second part of it is where it gets tricky. The second part of your exhalation is where you think, I'm done exhaling, but you're actually not. You actually still have breath in your lungs. And so that second part of the exhalation is like that moment where you push yourself beyond your edge. And you can do that by really squeezing your abdomen in toward your spine and really getting that last bit of air out, giving it your all. You can give it your all because you trust another breath will come right back in. And again, bringing that breath to the bottom of your torso and opening up. And as you breathe this way, I want you to see if you can feel your breath moving like a stream along your heart. So you want to tune in very deeply into your own body. I already taught you a lot just about the breath, and maybe that's enough for you tonight. That's okay. But if you have some more curiosity, you can really listen in and see, can I feel my breath moving along my heart like a stream, energizing, washing, renewing, and reassuring my heart with every breath that I take. And then I invite you to place your hands on your heart. And then again, feeling your breath like a stream washing, reassuring, energizing your heart. And really bring your internal focus onto your heart now. Really focus your energies deep into your heart. The heart is really amazing because it really is composed of all these opposites, and your heart holds great wisdom as well as spectacular innocence. It's like an enchanting innocence that our heart has, this joy, effortless joy that it has, this innocence of a child, childlike innocence. And at the same time, it holds this ancient wisdom. And I almost want you to ask your heart from that space, from that perspective of asking your heart as both this place of childlike innocence and this place of ancient wisdom. And really ask your heart, what is it that it most deeply wants and wishes for? And especially this early into the meditation, the tendency will be to go right up into your head and start listing all these things and da 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 da. I don't want you to go there, and I'm not going to be able to give you the answer. Only your heart. You have to really tune yourself to the center of your being in this moment of time. And it's like even in this moment, we can have a hesitancy toward looking into our heart because it is like an ocean. It's a vast field of energy, our heart. And we don't know what type of obstacles will come. And so even right in this moment, really trust yourself. Really trust your heart. Your heart is a safe space. And whatever your heart wants to tell you, it will know the right time. And you can trust that so you can stay open enough to listen. So once again, ask your heart, not your head, not me, not anything outside of you. But find the deepest part of your heart, deeper than you've ever felt before. And with reverence and sincerity, ask your heart, what is it, my dear heart, that you long for? What is it, my dear heart, that you most need? What is it, my dear heart, that is the truest wish within you for me to experience, for me to live and become? And then the real test of trust comes, self-trust comes from that time of listening. Sinking in enough, trusting that the answer will rise up like a spring inside of you. It'll give you a clue one way or another. But keep this question centered at the very depth of your heart, the very center of your heart. It's like you pose the question, especially if you're having trouble right now seeing your way. You pose this question and hold, you hold that concentration. That's the concentration part. And you trust your heart that the answer will rise up, that it will come. And you help yourself be patient with your deep, full breathing. What do I most need right now? What is my next step? Where am I going? And then I really want us to get this sense of security in our hearts, in our self, in our inner senses. We are very much reinforced to have security in the outer life, and that is very important. But most of the time, it's at the cost of our own inner sense of security, our own inner sense of self, our invisible self, our internal self. And so right now, you're starting to get to know that self, your inner invisible self. And I want to connect it with our outer senses for a moment. And so, with your next several breaths, I'd like you to warm up your hands a little bit, just rub your hands together, and then place them over your eyes like little cups over your eyes. And just breathe, full deep breath. And every time you breathe, exhale from your heart all the way up to your eyes. And then inhale back into the third eye and back down to your heart. And exhale from your heart out your eyes, using your breath as energy, as a way of directing the energies of your body. And the most important thing with this exercise is to create that bridge of connection between all that you see, not only through your mind, but also through your heart. What does your heart see? What kind of light does your heart shine out of your eyes? Where's the curiosity? One more full breath like this. And then go ahead and bring your hands to your ears. I kind of go to my jaw. I just place my fingers slightly around my ears. And the same thing, I'm going to create a bridge with my breath from my heart to my ears. It's like I'm inhaling all the sound around me and inhaling it all the way down to my heart. And then I'm exhaling from my heart all the way back up my throat and out my ears. The sound, the vibration, the vibe, right? What vibration are you keenly drawn to? Breathing here. What does your heart listen for? What music does your heart wish to play? And then last one, you can either place your fingertips lightly on your throat if you want to, or just next to the edges of your lips. And this one is more for the voice. You're just getting this sense of connecting your heart to your throat chakra, to your voice. All the things you say and don't say. What does your heart want to say? And where does your heart want silence, peace, rapture? And just opening up these channels between your own heart and your own voice, your voice unique to all other voices that have ever lived. What a gift, what an opportunity, and how does it sound? What does it want to say? What have you learned? What do you want to share? What's the good news? Good, and then let go of breathing this way, and as you're ready, move your body and open up your eyes. So I really don't know what kind of feedback you got from your body tonight, but the thing with this meditation is that you can repeat that. Maybe you had a favorite part of it, and you can repeat that every day. And what will happen is that these channels will just start to naturally open up for you because of your breath and because of your attention that you're giving. And so if you're really lost on your path right now, I wanted you to have some tools to help you find your way. And so you can really just take even just one part of that meditation and really work it as much as you need to until you start to hear the messages from your heart, and those that your heart starts to be able to speak, see, hear all the things around you. All right. So you can get some blisters.
Well, thanks for that meditation, Leah. There's something really powerful about, where you place your hands, and especially when, it's like you have your hands on your heart, right? And maybe for a little while, we're not used to holding that, right? It's like, so
Mhm.
the longer you hold it, the more of an impact it has on you, right? Because you're like, oh, like, how annoying, right? I have to keep on doing this. It must be important, right? So you have like this physical mechanism, right? That's
Yeah.
telling you, hey, you know, this is important, right? Um,
Yeah.
and that's really good, right? Because you're meditating, you
Yeah.
thoughts come up, you get distracted. I mean, this happens, right? So just by having this, right, or this is an interesting one, right, where you're
Yeah.
attention to your mouth or to your ears, right, or
Mhm.
to like this one. Um,
Yeah.
this is like there's a yoga practice like this, right, that you cup your eyes and it helps your eyes to relax, right? So
Mhm.
very interesting to connect that to the heart and to the third eye, this center of subtle perception and intuition. And so great exercise for bringing all of those areas into our attention. And
Mm.
because the reality is, like, our hearts speak to us in all kinds of different ways, right? Like,
Yes.
the heart has its own language. The mind uses words and images sometimes too, right? But like, the heart is different that way, right? The heart has its own way of communicating, right? And we get feelings, we get sensations, um, we get we get we get images and stuff. Oh, we lost Leah here. Let's see. Oh gosh, I guess she'll be back. Uh, so, so, so by tuning into these different parts of our body, right? The point is, um, you know, we get um, we get a different experience, right? We get a different way of bringing that attention to our hearts. Um, so, okay, let's see if I can add her again. All right, add to screen. Back.
Sorry. It's part of the blisters.
These are our blisters, my friends. That's
Getting
because
yourself used to being on camera.
believe it or not, you guys, before doing the class, Leah had not been on camera in front of the
All
entire
right.
much before. Am I right, Leah? Is that true?
Yeah.
And yet she's natural and just does so effortlessly, of course. So, but we all have our technical issues sometimes.
It was not effortless.
Don't tell all your secrets.
Well, there's a lot of blisters.
A lot of blisters and a lot of bliss, hopefully.
Yes. Yes, they're both of those things. Yeah.
We think about like, meditation as being involving these different states, right? Like states of consciousness, states of being, and the first one of these, the very beginning of meditation is focusing your mind, concentration, right? Um, so we need to concentrate to accomplish anything, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
accomplishing something is concentrating on it over time, right? And so this is an opportunity that we learn in meditation, right? We have a basic skill here we can develop, right? Focusing the mind right now, right? And this is really helpful
Mhm.
because you learn how to you focus on whatever you want, right? And the focusing your mind is hard, right? I mean, like there's no real shortcut to it, right? You have to just practice it. But there is one thing that helps a lot, and that is focusing on something you care about, right? Focus
Yes.
on something you care about makes it much
Well,
easier.
and when you fall in love, like you if you're anything like me, like you become slightly obsessed.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
so, uh, you can't help but think about you're like, "God, let me think of anything else," you know what I mean?
Well, if there's
And that
trouble in paradise, then you want to think about.
well, I mean, just, but if especially when you, like, first fall in love, it's like can't you don't even wanna think about anything else, and so, like,
Mhm.
that's also an indicator, it's like that's why you get blisters is, like, this repetitive motion, like, towards something you want,
Yeah.
and so love is such a great indicator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is what you find in your heart, right? Your heart is love. Your heart is
Mhm.
full of love. That's your heart's nature, right? So, we're looking for, well, what is your heart drawn to? Um, and your heart has all kinds of ways of speaking about that to you, right? Of letting you know that. And so, you know, um, I have like I mean, this is kind of a prosaic example, but like I'm thinking about going to this class, right? Should I do that? I have all these other things to do, right? It's martial arts class, jujitsu, and I'm like meditating, and I'm like, well, I don't know, how should I spend my day? Should I do this? And I start thinking of like the different moves, and I think of what am I working on, and like it becomes it's very strong, right? So I'm like, all right, well, that's my answer, right? And like, you know, it's important to my heart at this moment to like experience this, right? And how do I know? Well, I'm
Mm.
feeling that a lot, when I
Mm.
tune into my heart in meditation, right? So we want
Mm.
to have a way of because these things do change, right? Like that might be important at
Mhm.
that moment, right? Might not be important at some other moment, right? We don't want it to remain
Yeah.
static. We don't want to lose
No.
that signal, right? Because our lives are full, right? We have lots of different things going on, right?
Mhm.
And we want to do the right thing at the right time, right? I mean, what a
Yeah.
so simple and yet so difficult to do.
Mhm.
And we need that. We need to be tuned in to be able to do that, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I want to, so yeah, we'll do another meditation, and I want to explore this um, idea of what's the desire behind the desire, right? Can we go
Mm.
deeper with that, right? Um,
Mm.
because we've talked about this has been a theme in the past, right? We've talked about this in reference to working with thoughts, right? Um, what is the meaning of the thought? What's the thought behind the thought? What's the emotion behind that, right? So, all of these things have layers, right? And we don't want to stay on the surface, right? We don't want to stay on the surface and say, okay, this is a desire. I know I have this, right? We want to explore, well, what does it connect to, right? Within the depths of my being. Um, so let's work on that
Mm.
in
Mm.
a meditation. So take a good upright posture. Um, Maybe you never stopped having good posture, and if so, that's great. That's excellent. And just feel like you can be upright and yet relaxed. You tune into your breath and make your breath deep, slow, rhythmic, heart-centered, and full. Deep meaning when you inhale, your belly expands. When you exhale, your belly contracts. And slow, your breath is taking longer than before, and it's also smooth and quiet. We want our breath to really flow, so work on that. Now, to make the breath rhythmic means the same length on the inhalation as the exhalation. To make the breath heart-centered means that we are breathing into our hearts and expanding our hearts as we exhale. So we are connecting the breath and the heart. And we have a wonderful way of doing that, which is to tune into the heartbeat, to count the beats of the heart, and make sure that that count is the same on the inhalation as it is on the exhalation. So, for example, 8 beats in, 8 beats out. The nice thing about 8 is it's 2 counts of 4. And a 4 count doesn't really need to be counted exactly, does it? I mean, it's bump, 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 right? How did you know that was 4? Well, you know, right? I mean, you do 2 of those. It's a little bit like music, you get used to a certain rhythm, and then that's the rhythm that you're just doing it, right? At first, it takes a lot of concentration. You have to really focus on that rhythm and get it down. But then it sort of carries you. That's what we want for the rhythm of your breath. We want your deep, slow, rhythmic, heart-centered breath to just carry you through. Now, to make your breath full requires a little bit more work. You're going to have to really squeeze the muscles of the abdomen, the core muscles here. Really squeeze out all of the breath. And then release that slowly and allow, because you want the breath to be smooth. So you have to control it on the inhalation just as you did on the exhalation. It takes work to finish the exhalation, just like it takes work to finish anything. And then you don't let the breath raggedly rush in. You control it so that your breath remains smooth. And this gives your breath tremendous power. And now you tune into your heart and you just ask the question, what is my heart longing for? What am I longing for? What do I want? What do I desire? And you just keep on asking the question, whatever comes up. Maybe you get an answer right away. Good. Be with that answer. Feel the longing that's there. Now, maybe nothing is coming to mind, so that's okay too. Whatever the experience is, you allow it to unfold. But by keeping your focus on it, by bringing that question into your heart, on your breath, the question will go deep within you. And the answer may be a surprise. So you look for that. The surprise means that it's not something that you anticipated. It's not something that your mind knew about. Like you're not like second guessing your desires here, right? You're really listening. Now, surprise can have many different aspects to it that it might not be completely out of left field, but there's something that about it that's a surprise. Maybe it's the intensity. Maybe it's a certain way that it's being expressed to you, right? Maybe the experience is different than what you thought it would be. But all of that counts, right? It's like, you might have kissed someone that you love. You might have kissed them 100 times, but kiss them again and this is different. There's a certain something to it, right? You knew what it was going to be like, but you didn't really. You thought you did. Try to turn up the intensity of this longing, this desire. This is what we mean by really taking your desires seriously, really feeling them deeply. Get into that desire. And this might be uncomfortable because, that's the nature of longing. That's the nature of desire, right? There's something that's unfulfilled there. And if you get into it, it's uncomfortable because you're like, I want that fulfillment. I really want this. Wow. There may be some pain along with that because why wouldn't there be? You're acknowledging that there's a lack. What if you go deeper with this? What if you make this experience of longing so big, so grand? Because here's the thing, right? Every being has desire. Every being wants things, right? Wants something. That's a universal emotion. That's a universal feeling. It's much bigger than you. Your longing is infinite. It's the longing of the universe. Really charge your desire, charge your longing with your breath. And this is where the importance of the slow breath comes in, because your breath is slow, and then you have time to really feel the unique energy that builds up and builds up on each part of the breath, right? When we breathe in our normal pace, maybe we take 20 breaths a minute or something, you don't have time to really think about it. When you take a long inhalation, let's just say 8 counts, right? That's maybe about 8 seconds. You have time to notice that there's a different feeling at the beginning of that inhalation, and then the end. You're in a very different place here. Your being is very expanded by that energy of the inhalation. And then the exhalation, as you breathe all the way out, you feel that power of the exhalation. Use that exhalation to just bring you into your desire and just follow it. Desire is a river. Throw yourself into it and let that river flow. Let the river expand until it fills everything. feel the joy of being in that flow. The river longs to pour itself into the sea. We long to discover the universal through the individual. Because our individuality can never be complete without understanding that we're a drop in the ocean. We are the drop and we are the ocean. We're both. Place your hands on your heart and bring this universal energy, this infinite longing, back into your own personal self, your own personal heart, your own emotions, your own body. But bring with it that feeling of expansiveness and infinity and eternity. And we'll end our meditation there. Thank you.
Mm. Mm. You know, what I really loved about that meditation was like how calming it was, like how peaceful it really felt. A lot of times when I think about purpose or pursuing purpose, just a tremendous amount of like adrenaline energy comes through me.
Mm.
And it's like a lot of time I can have the sense like I have to do it right now or something like that, you know. And there's something like that that your meditation really helped to dip into or tap into is that kind of universal unfoldment. You know, it's like the rivers that go to the ocean also has a wave that comes back and meets it, you know, and there's something about that support system that's already there and that it is more of an act of consistency. And so I really felt that in your meditation. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm,
Well, I hope you guys
mm.
have, gotten what you came for. You followed your blister, led you to the
Hope,
sea.
hope you all get a lot of blisters.
Bliss too. Well, don't forget that,
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be a mix.
The true nature of my teaching style comes out. Blisters.
Thank you guys for joining us this evening. Don't forget, if you want to support the show, we've got a link to the Patreon
Mm,
below. We're here every week. We'd love to have you guys join us and add to the vibe. If you're watching it later, of
yes,
course, fine. We have, and we've got many other in the
yes.
playlist there. So
And
hopefully you guys get something from it, and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
yeah, and thank you everyone for being a part of my bliss. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Namaste.
Namaste.